Keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you also follow me on all my social media platforms to stay connected with all Keek on the Mic news. So, Bears fans, I wanted to come on here on Keek on the Mic to talk a little bit about an ex-player in David Montgomery. And for the longest time, I wasn't actually going to talk about this, but there was just a certain quote that he mentioned about the Chicago Bears that I wanted to react to, give you guys my thoughts on, and also hear your guys' thoughts on what David Montgomery had to say about the Chicago Bears. So obviously, as we all know, David Montgomery did not re-sign with the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears did offer David Montgomery, but unfortunately, he did not like the deal that Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears were offering him. So he ended up going to our division rival in the Detroit Lions. And now I kind of feel like David Montgomery is just a little bit in his feelings. Recently on a Lions gaming channel, the Bears ex-running back and David Montgomery was basically talking to Gardner Johnson, also the new Lions player from the Eagles. And they were just basically talking about their situations and where they come from. And basically what David Montgomery had to say about the Chicago Bears is that the last couple of seasons of the Chicago Bears losing, especially his tenure in Chicago, took a major toll on him. This is what he had to say about his time in Chicago. That was all I was used to, he said. And it got to a point where it sucked the fun out of the game for me because I'm a competitor. I like to compete. That's what football's about. It's so refreshing to be in a place where that's appreciated. And Bears fans, before we get ahead of ourselves, there's no arguing the fact of what Dave Montgomery is basically saying about the Chicago Bears losing. The Chicago Bears have lost a lot of football games, especially in his tenure. You can look at last season. The Chicago Bears went 3-14, but in David Montgomery's 4 seasons with the Chicago Bears, they went 25-41. So there was obviously a lot of losing in Chicago. So I can definitely understand where David Montgomery is coming from in a sense that, you know, when you lose that many football games, it can suck the fun out of the game. And obviously, when you look at the type of player, the type of effort David Montgomery gave the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bears organization, he gave it his all. Every single game, every single practice, you can see the effort and the passion he played with, you know. So I can understand how it can be frustrating for a player to lose that many football games, right? But I think David Montgomery is kind of missing the point. He brings up at the end of his little statement saying it's so refreshing to be in a place where that's appreciated. And what he's meaning by that is that he's basically insinuating that the Detroit Lions care more about winning, right, than the Chicago Bears. And that's where I wanted to come on here on today's episode of Keek on the Mic and talk about that little piece, because I think he is missing the big picture. First of all, when you look at the Detroit Lions organization, they literally just had their first winning season last year at 9-8. And that was their first winning season in years, right? And that was a season where, one, they did not win the division, and two, they didn't even make the playoffs. I think the Detroit Lions are on a good trajectory, right? I feel like everyone realizes that their rebuild is almost coming to an end, and you know, they are a legit threat in the NFC North. But I think David Montgomery is missing the big picture. You're coming, you know, obviously you're coming from an organization that hasn't won a lot. I just mentioned it, 25-41 in his tenure as a Chicago Bear. But you're going to an organization now where they also haven't won a lot, right? So I feel like the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears are kind of in the same boat. And that's just me being realistic. So him saying that it's so refreshing to be in a place where that's appreciated, it's just kind of silly to me. And I also think, once again, that he's kind of missing the big point. I don't think it never had anything to do with that the Bears organization didn't appreciate winning. I think it has a lot to do with the Chicago Bears organization just needs to learn how to win. And I think my point on that is I think it goes a lot to say about the ownership, right? We talk a lot about the ownership. You know, the ownership needs to do a better job and bringing in better people. And I think we're finally on the track where they are bringing in good people to help this organization. But you look at the years and years of the coaches coming in and out, right? And there's just not getting it done. I think George McCaskey has said it many times that he wants to have a winning organization. But once again, this organization, talking about the Chicago Bears, needs to learn how to win. But I don't think it was ever any idea that the Bears didn't want to win. They just need to learn how to win. So I just think it's kind of funny that David Montgomery brought this up, saying that he feels like it wasn't appreciated. Of course, the Chicago Bears, one of the founding franchises of the National Football League, of course they want to win. I think it's good for an NFL when the Chicago Bears are a good football team. I think it's good for an NFL when the Chicago Bears are winning football games, right? So I think David Montgomery is missing the big point, but at the same time, I think David Montgomery is just a tad bit hurt because I personally think that he sees the potential not only in Justin Fields but the Chicago Bears football team, and he wanted to be a part of it. And maybe he felt like just a little bit disrespected, that the contract wasn't what he wanted, right? And I know that David Montgomery meant a lot to the Chicago Bears fan base, and I know that deep down Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears wanted to keep David Montgomery. But at the end of the day, David Montgomery, let's be a little bit realistic and come back down to earth. All right, the Chicago Bears organization definitely wants to win. I know it sucks to lose, but don't go to Detroit Lions and say, they appreciate winning more than the Chicago Bears. If you went to the Kansas City Chiefs, I think that statement makes a little bit more sense. But you went to the Detroit Lions, buddy, right? That's an organization that's probably been obviously worse than the Chicago Bears in this 4-year stint. Once again, this is their first winning season at 9-8, and that was a season where they didn't make the playoffs or didn't win a division. I'm not sitting here saying that the Detroit Lions can't be good. I think they're in a good track, right? I think they have a good head coach. I think they have a good culture there. I think the Detroit Lions can be very good. But at this point in time, you went to an organization in the Detroit Lions that hasn't been any better than the Chicago Bears. So I just wanted to come on here and give my thoughts on what David Montgomery had to say about his time in Chicago. And once again, I understand it's frustrating to lose a lot of football games, but David Montgomery, please be a little bit more realistic and think about what you're saying next time before you actually say it. So Bears fans, before I let you guys go, let me ask you guys this. How do you guys feel about David Montgomery's comments about the Chicago Bears? Let me know down below in the comment section. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, back for all new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.